Good morning, Sarah Jones. Thanks for joining us here at Yellow Shelf.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
Yeah, congratulations on your book, Dementia. Who are you and what have you done with my mum? Is your beautiful new book that's come out in the last couple of months. Sarah, what do we need to know about your new book?
Well, the book is essentially just my story or the journey that I was on with my mum from the time that she was diagnosed to the time that we lost her. But yeah, it's just a really personal account. Hopefully, my aim was to write this book so that people who are going through a similar thing with a loved one might not feel alone. And my hope that is that they'll feel supported and yeah, they'll see themselves in it. It'll be relatable. Also, for people who haven't gone through it, it's just an insight into what it's like to live with someone up close, what it's like living with someone, watching them decline and experiencing what it's like to see someone with dementia.
Yeah. And look, Sarah, I just shared with you offline, I have a dear friend who's going through exactly this journey. So when reading the book, it was just really powerful to me to understand some insights and some of your shares about your families and your mother's journey. So tell us what took you to then put it into to writing and sharing this with a what will be a wider audience? Why did you decide to write about this, Sarah?
Yeah, well, I was keeping a journal or a diary to as it was happening, and I thought there was a time where I just wanted a book. I wanted something to read myself when we were going through it.
Yeah.
Um, I just needed someone to be able to relate to what it was like. And so then I got the idea, well, why don't I just turn all these diary entries into an actual book? Because I don't think there's anything really out there that's from this personal perspective. There's lots of medical books and
Yes.
books from the sufferers themselves, but just a fly on the wall kind of look at what it's like. So I wrote the book that I wanted to read, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Fabulous. And Sarah, do you want to tell us a bit about your mom and the family? Like, tell us what do we need to know to make that connection?
Yep. So my mum, beautiful, vivacious, bubbly woman, great sense of humor,
Yeah.
always sort of the life of the party. And when she was around her 70th birthday, she started to show some changes. We were all a bit alarmed. I only have one brother, but
Yep.
we're a pretty close family. And mum's normally very, loving, beautiful personality, very gentle and compassionate. And her personality started changing and she would start saying nasty things about people and she was more aggressive and impatient and things like that, coupled with also telling us the same stories over and over, and not realizing that she's doing that. So
Yeah.
there were a few little telltale signs. And because we are such a close family, we said, Mum, we think you need to go and get the scan. But the type of dementia that she actually was diagnosed with meant that she didn't really know that there was anything wrong. So
Oh.
she was absolutely opposed to going to the doctor. She'd say, no, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm completely fine. Um, but we now know that, yeah, that's just a part of her type of dementia. She had frontal lobe dementia
Sure.
because the term dementia is actually an umbrella term for lots of different types of
Mm.
disease. So that people usually associate it with Alzheimer's.
Yes.
And when someone has Alzheimer's, they do know painfully what's going on, but mum didn't. So it was a challenge to get her to the doctor in the first place and get the scan. And then just having that concrete evidence of that scan and the doctor saying, you have dementia. And yeah, it was a bit of a shock for all of us, obviously.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
And as a family, you embrace that with the support of your brother. Tell us about, yeah, how those years or that time went with your mum.
yeah, well, we're hoping that mum might be able to have some care in home because obviously that's her environment where she felt the most safe. And
Yeah.
but it just became apparent different things were happening, safety issues.
Yeah.
She was wandering around in the middle of the night. She was leaving the house, and Dad wasn't equipped to look after her for 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had that whole heart-wrenching thing of having to put her into care, which yeah, that's hard for anybody. But
Mm.
the fact that she didn't really know what was happening was even harder. So we had to put her into a nursing home, and then just I talk about this in the book as well, just the adjustment for Dad. They've been married
Yeah.
for nearly 50 years. So suddenly his wife's gone. He was in denial for quite a bit of the time
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, so coming to grips with that, what it was like having
Yeah.
his wife going off into a nursing home and
Yeah.
yeah, and that just
And
became her reality.
And look, I think, people, individual families will go through this. And like you were sharing about, there probably were some signs, but you don't know what they are. And then going on that journey to get diagnosed and even understanding it as a family. And then this journey of, like you just explained, care at home, care that can no longer be.
Mm.
And what a roller coaster that is for the family.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big roller coaster, steep learning curve.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess was that when you wrote the book, was it, I guess it was your story, but was there a piece in this that did you realize that when people like me read it, we could help it helps us to understand?
That was, yeah, I really hope that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of great feedback from people who haven't really experienced dementia. I was saying, well, wow, I didn't realize that's
Mm.
that sort of thing. They didn't know how it would manifest, I suppose, in the person and just the toll it is on a family. It's pretty tough. Mm,
Yeah, and yeah, it's when it's our parents or our carers, it's a really tough to have to kind of now us, I guess, lead up and support our parents through that journey.
that's
Um, how did you go? You've written the book, you've launched it a couple of months ago. How's it been for you talking about it and reliving this, Sarah?
yeah, I mean, in some ways it was a little bit therapeutic writing it all down. And yeah, I've been so encouraged by the feedback. I mean, humbled, I feel. Just so stoked that it has actually resonated with people and that they, especially people who have gone through it, that they can really relate to it. And, it's helping them to feel they're not alone. That was the whole reason I wrote it. So yeah, I've been very encouraged by the feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's,
I know when I was reading it, Sarah, as a child, my great great grandmother went through this and had it and really quickly, went into care,
mm,
left her home that she'd been in, went into care, and then, yes, passed away. But I remember visiting her and, experiencing as a child the shift in her. So reading your book brought all that back for me too. And, in a good way. It helped me understand and accept, some of her behaviors. She would call us all by the wrong names and wrong generational names. And as a child, we'd laugh but also just think, oh wow. So there was a lot of insight in your book, Sarah. So
good. Yeah, I've
yeah,
tried to also make it a little bit lighthearted. So it's not a
yeah.
heavy read. It's quite easy to read, I think, and there's a bit of humor in there because
There is humor in there, and I
funny,
think
funny
that's
things.
part of that journey, isn't it? To yeah, even when it is heavy, there's times where you can find some light and some beauty.
That's right.
Mm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Sarah, what if we're interested? What if we're watching? How do we connect with you? What if we're interested in giving you some feedback? Do you have like a website, socials?
Yep, I've got a website. You can buy my book on the website too.
Yeah,
The address is wordsbysarahjones.com.
no
Yeah. So
worries.
I would love to hear your feedback if you've read the book. That'd be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I'll put that in the show notes to make it really easy for anyone who wants to reach out, wants to get the book, or just, yeah, generally wants to get more curious about your new book and the story that you share. Sarah, thanks for joining us here at Yellow Shelf.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a
Thanks,
pleasure.
Jen.
Cheers.